Welcome to the first episode in a while of the Ninja Warrior podcast. The hiatus we took was definitely not intentional. Let's say that much.
Yeah, no. So we are back after like a month, I think.
It's been a month since we recorded that All Stars podcast, but we did record one for the very first episode of this new season. However, that won't be uploaded. Yeah, on that topic, I just don't really feel the point of editing it at this point. Maybe in the future, I feel like it might be something I release down the line, but right now it will remain, I'll keep it in my archives, but I will remain unreleased for the time being. But for now, we have a lot of ground to cover. So we're going to be briefly going over the 5 episodes of qualifying. That's going to be the first segment. It could be like 15 minutes, I don't know, but I don't want it to be too long, as obviously most of the episodes will be covering the most recent semifinals episode, which honestly is the first good episode with this season, which is pretty sad.
I mean, I can fully understand it. I mean, the qualifiers, I don't remember the last time we had good qualifiers. Like, maybe individual 11, because like we had the introduction of the Power Tower and stuff, but the qualifiers never stick out ever. Like, even when they try to do new gimmicks and stuff, it really doesn't stick out. It is only really a couple of good moments. Here, surprisingly enough, they were actually able to turn out a good episode and a good course.
Yeah, but before we get into episode 6, obviously we have to go through episodes 1 through 5 individually. So, a little bit back on here. The qualifiers took place in San Antonio. And they aired all throughout June and a little bit of July. And I think, generally speaking, we'll be going over each night individually, talking about the new obstacles, as well as some of the ones that we can recall from memory. Think that sounds good?
Yeah, we'll also be looking at a leaderboard from Sasukepedia, just to keep that in mind, so in case we don't end up forgetting people.
Oh yeah, for sure, that's kind of a given at this point, but yeah, let's get into this. So, episode 1, the new obstacles included the not Double Dipper, the roller coaster.
Obviously, yes. The roller coaster is basically just a very slow version of the Double Dipper. It feels like even more of a whip-up than Double Down was last season. And honestly, it just feels like there, honestly.
Yeah, it's not really too much of anything, honestly, but it's fine, I guess. It's stupid. It's fine, I guess, honestly. Don't have too much to say about it. It was at least a good ninja kill, but that's really all we have to go on about it. Then on Split Decision, we had the domino effect and the new obstacle serpent, which is basically this like zigzagging line with spinning tops that you had to go through. Like not like necessarily tops, but like battling rams. That's it. Like just like they spin and you have to land on them and stuff. I am horrible at describing things, I realize.
Yeah, no, that's not a good way to describe it. It should be on screen so you guys see what we're talking about. But it was definitely a harder obstacle, and I can definitely see why less people went for it.
Yeah, once again, it's another situation where it's pretty obvious which one you'd want to go for if you want the best amount of success. But, yeah, alright, obstacle. Then we have Carnival. Yeah, this is kind of why I wanted to call the first episode of the podcast we did in the new season Too Different, Too Late.
Yeah, honestly, I like that. I don't know why, but I like that.
I mean, honestly, the reason why I say that is because Carnival is too different, in my opinion. It really doesn't feel like it belongs in Ninja. It's a cool concept, it just doesn't feel like it belongs. I mean, I feel like that might be pushing it, but I can kind of see what you mean. It's very different than any other obstacle we've ever seen. As obviously, there's like 3 different handles you can get. You can get a T-grip, a single grip, a nunchuck, and a cliffhanger if you miss the ball. And honestly, it's, again, different. It's honestly hard to describe aside from just being different.
Yeah, but I'll give it this. It was at least cool to see. Honestly, it was kind of just there. Then we have Salmon War, which, awesome new obstacle right here.
That sounds sarcastic.
It's not! I actually kind of like it. The Salmon War was a play on the Roaring Thunder, seen back in seasons 8 and 9, and this is a really good spin on it.
Yeah, definitely. The Salmon War was actually a pretty tough obstacle, and honestly, I'm definitely okay with it being here. Took out some top veterans in the first night, such as Vance Walker, and it was pretty powerful in taking out others as well. And, yeah, obviously we have the Warp on Mega Wall returning from previous seasons.
Yeah, so what do you guys want to talk about for the first couple of ones for episode 1?
The first thing on the comes to mind to me is James McGrath.
Oh yeah, him proposing to Elizabeth. That was pretty cool. I think it's really cool to see James McGrath back, but I think the main problem with it is the fact that I think the main problem with that is just that we were told that he was to propose. If we weren't told that he was gonna, it was a surprise moment, like Alyssa Beard, like from Alyssa Beard's point of view, then that would have been cooler.
Oh yeah, I see what you mean. A couple of years back, Ben Mueller did a proposal to his girlfriend on stage 1, and that was actually cool because like we would never knew. It was kind of just like surprising. Here it really felt like spur of the moment. It just, you know, because we already knew, it didn't really feel like too much of a surprise or a big moment. And of course, she said yes because you'd feel kind of pressured not to. But yeah, I guess it was okay. We had RJ Roman get the fastest time of the night and being one of the competitors to complete the Mega Wall, and the Mega Wall had quite a few number of finishers this season.
Oh yeah, definitely. There were 4 in the first night. One of them being RJ Opsy, one of them being James McGrath, which was a huge moment. One of them being Brent Hernandez Strong, which was honestly pretty cool to see him there, as well. And we also had Bob Weiss, who was a parkour runner. Honestly, I am interested in seeing him get more spotlight this season.
Yeah, Bob Weiss himself. I'm someone who had him pop up in my recommended on YouTube recently, and he is annoying.
Wow, just shoot him down right there.
Seriously, he does narration in his videos, and he just whambles and whambles and whambles. And really, all I would care about is see him do parkour, and that's what he does. So it kind of is just there. And he is more annoying than anything else. But it's cool to see him on Ninja. It's cool to see him getting spotlight. Oh yeah, definitely. I'm kind of like iffy on the idea of fast forwarding Mega Wall careers. I think it's stupid, but considering what they had to show tonight, I guess it's okay. I think the biggest moment of the night was definitely Jordan Carr being the youngest woman to complete a qualifying course, so hit a buzzer in general.
Oh yeah, that was a very hype moment. It was really cool to see Jordan. I didn't think we would be seeing her again. I thought she was not old enough yet, but I think it's really cool to see her.
Oh yeah, so it was just, yeah, really cool. Really cool. Is there any kind of other notes about the first episode? Yeah, there was like people like Football Rodriguez going out really early and Eric Middleton. Lauren Ball ended up coming back after one season absence, so that was pretty cool just to see him again. I am very iffy on the cut ones. One of them being Julius Ferguson, who had a segment with another competitor from EW Junior, and you know when she ran, he had a whole segment showed with her, and I find it really hilarious how they cut his one, but yet you know he got a segment with her.
Yeah, that is pretty humorous. Give him that. I think Enzo DeForest Wilson's fail in the same one was pretty shocking.
Yeah, and on that note, I guess you could talk about Vance Walker's fail as well, as that one was pretty surprising. Both of them were still able to move on. They were right after each other, but even so, it's still crazy to me that ended up coming to pass. Yeah, so the first night was honestly pretty okay.
Yeah, I think it was pretty cool just to see everyone back in and at it. We had some really cool ones from everyone in now, and while there was some shocking fails here and there, not really too notable from what I remember.
Yeah, the editing was okay enough. Once again, just obstacles like Carnival a little bit iffy. But now I get to move on to night 2 of the qualifiers. Night 2 had has one new obstacle, that being Piston Plunge, which was basically this set of pistons you had to let me look up the obstacle. Dude, really? I'm sorry, I need to see this again. Oh yeah, wait. So it was a set of pistons that swung independently of each other, and they each had different ways you had to grab onto them and stuff. And they were really difficult and ended with a really tough handhold. They had like a red one. And yeah, this obstacle was actually surprisingly deadly for what it was. even though I didn't really see it as all that hard.
It kind of just depends on how you take it, honestly.
Yeah, for sure, I see what you mean by that. The other obstacles here were already seen or recycled from the first night qualifying, so nothing really else to go on there. In terms of notable ones, we had Joe Mawaski getting the Mega Wall once more, and then getting the fourth place on the leaderboard. Matt Bradley had the fastest time, which shocks me because he was fast along with the other people at the top 3, which is a little bit just depressing if you ask me.
Yeah, definitely. Jay Lewis also ran the night. He was fast forwarded, so that surprised me, but he was showing the semis, which we'll be covering later. We had Najee Richardson returned from his absence of AW13, so it was really cool to see him actually complete the course. Jacob Owenstein from AW Junior also made his rookie debut this season. Honestly, he's a good as well. We were a little iffy on him in AW Junior, but definitely really cool to see him again.
Yeah, I'm really glad to see him compete, honestly. I think he had a lot of potential doing AW Junior, even if he didn't go all that far. At least, with legitimately speaking, I don't mean, actually. But, still, he's a really good competitor, and I'm really glad to see him on the actual show. Going on, this course had a lot of, stupid cuts, really. We have Xavier Dantzler, we have Xavier Dantzler, we have Dave Kavanaugh, the walk-on ninja, so that one's pretty stupid. We had, and that was really about it. However, we need to talk about this editing mistake on the leaderboard.
So I thought Xavier Dantzler, the leaderboard ended up getting fucked up when they were showing it, as Lucas Reality is shown to me next, but he was actually in 14th spot, not 13th. So the leaderboard ends up being unsynced, and the person they showed moving on, Ryan Guancui, he actually was shown in 30th place, the cutoff point, but the cutoff point was actually with Ryan Hermstein, who ended up moving on anyway because of the broadcast error.
Yeah, I really don't know how this ended up working. It's really dumb. I think this really does just show the editing errors that they did with the leaderboard as a whole. It's good job.
Yeah, honestly, I think they really do deserve the clappings for giving them right here.
Yeah, this episode was a lot less notable. Not as much happened. It was cool to see Mulaski and Jay Lewis, but honestly, not too much after that. But there were some cool ones, I guess.
I think after that we can move on to episode 3, which had one brand new obstacle, those being the kickboards, which was a very, I can't say unique obstacle because I'd be giving it too much credit, but the kickboards are these, 2 boards that you had to swing off from a shape on, kick with your feet, then you had to grab onto this kind of circle, this, spear. Handhold, and then you got to transfer to a second one. And honestly, the obstacle is very filler heavy. It feels very filler heavy. That's probably the best way to describe it, honestly.
Yeah, the way it was kind of formed, it felt like padding on the course, but I guess it was fine, honestly. They just probably could have done it better. And that was the only straight up new obstacle. Everything else we had already seen. And we had already seen for other nights of qualifying or in general pass across different seasons. In terms of the highlights of the leaderboard, we had the return of Caden Lebsek, the last man standing from last season. Chris Balance, who was, I believe, a rookie, if I am not mistaken, he ended up getting the fastest time of the night at 1:45. 1 second faster than Caden. I was honestly shocked at that one. We had at Max Feinberg. We had Ethan Swanson, Max Feinberg, Cam Bauer, all fast-forwarded, which is pretty shitty if you ask me.
Yeah, Devin Alexander got some showtime, as he was actually fast-forwarded instead of cut like last time. We had Flex the Black return this week. I go on with, of course, Chris DeGanti, so they both got buzzers. Jamie Wan was showing a fast-forward segment, so I think it was really cool to see him. And then we had a whole bunch of videos and great people like Jackson Twait and Leaf Sunberg.
Yeah, one of the funniest cuts they ended up making to qualifying night number 3 was Kyle Solzy who they love promoting the shit out of because he's the Death Ninja. Now they just give the silent treatment.
Yeah, this is really hilarious. Did we see Michael Torres this season?
Well, I'll be right back real fast.
I don't think we did.
I'll type him in real fast.
We didn't see him this season. He didn't compete.
Wow, that's a little sad. He never ended up getting revenge on his very early qualifying for last year. Alright.
I'm sorry, that just came to mind as we were talking about Kyle Solzy and how they're closely linked with each other. But you can get what I mean, why that came to mind.
Yeah, that's kind of funny. We had Addie Herman, who was, of course, on AEW Jr. and competed last year as well. And we had Levi Enway, who was the only competitor to get the Mega Wall this episode. But he's a rookie, so I didn't really get anything from him aside from that. But still really cool to see just someone get the Mega Wall in general. And, I think, yeah, that's kind of it for the 5th episode of qualifying.
I guess the more notable thing to point out is that this was Maggie Thorne's episode as well, but that's more about it.
Yeah, so moving on to episode 4, we have more new obstacles. We have 2 more new obstacles. Those being the Shattered Panes, which were on these 2 planes that were kind of like rock climbing grips. Basically, you had to use cliffhanger grips to on the edges to pull across and make it to the end. This was a dynamic obstacle, but that's giving it more credit than it probably deserves. It's honestly pretty easy, which makes it pretty funny, because knowing that people failed there to begin with.
Yeah, that's a way of putting it, but yes, I can definitely agree. I can definitely agree. The other new obstacle was, honestly, a pretty cool one. Final Frontier. This, honestly, was pretty unique. I'll give it to him here.
Yeah, Final Frontier was basically this this replica of the solar system that was built, and you basically had to hop from planet to planet, and they were centered on this little opening line, and on this little they were given an orbit line. That's where the T-ball went. You had to hop it from line to line, and this was a really difficult obstacle. It took out a really good chunk of people. And it was almost the cutoff point for the top 30.
Yeah, this night is definitely situational when it comes down to the overall competitors. So, I think we got that, of course, the fastest time of the night. That was surprisingly Nate Hansen.
Yeah, Nate Hansen was, of course, that shorter ninja from AEW 12 and 13. He was only, I believe, 5'1". So he had to sorry about that. Austin Gray was 2nd place, so that was really cool to see. That's really cool to see. Katie Bowen was the, I believe, the first finisher of the night, and she was a female, so she was, in addition to being the first second teenager to hit a buzzer, so she is also the first female to be the first finisher of the night. Again, that was really cool the way they paced that. We saw Isaiah. We saw the Isaiah and Isabella Wakeham's take on the course, so. Isaiah ended up hitting the buzzer. Isabel ended up falling on Final Frontier, but it was still cool to see them. Honestly, we saw veterans like Tyler Yamauchi. We saw veterans like Tyler Yamauchi and Barclay Stockett both make it into the top 30. We had people like Isaiah Thomas shockingly falling on Final Frontier. He still moved on, but it was just pretty surprising to me specifically.
Yeah, honestly, Isaiah's one of those competitors where he just shows off a lot, but he's pretty cool. I'm honestly he's that okay type of competitor. There was Donovan Matoyo, who was kind of given the shaft by getting fast forwarded here instead of getting shown like he usually does. So I guess he wasn't flashy enough. Now we have, and I want to talk about the probably most situational cut they made. Dan Palizzi! Fuck all of you!
Yeah, Dan Palizzi. Come on! He's one of the Towers of Power. He deserves to be at least fast forwarded. Come the fuck on. They really don't know who to show.
Yeah, definitely. If they're gonna fast forward someone like Dan Palizzi, then yes. Then fuck all you. Yes.
Sam Gray, who was another firefighter, ended up being fast forward as well, but I don't think he's all that important. The main thing to talk about tonight was the females. We had, and for the first time, 7 females moved on because of the top 30 being so fucking lenient.
Yeah! I can't believe it. So, This really makes me question if we really need a women's top 5 anymore. Honestly.
Yeah, if you can literally exceed that amount, that's something I really feared since they introduced the women's top 5. I didn't think women were good enough to really get there. The fact that they are now really makes me concerned.
Yeah, this is a topic I would really like to go on more about, so if you guys want to talk more about it, let us know, because it's definitely something I'd like to actually bring a discussion about. Like, actually.
Like, it's just a second topic?
Yeah, I think it'd be really cool just to see more bit of a history of women, and then, like, just be able to dedicate one of a segment talking about if we really think we should need a women's top 5 and we should be done with it otherwise.
I think that'd be really cool, so maybe we'll do that next episode of the podcast. But, anyway, yeah, just wanted to point that out. But, you know, it's just a little weird that they still consider them moving on. This reminds me of a situation from EW11 where Joey DeWillio ended up getting 13th place on the top 12, and she would have moved on if she was just one place higher. As the other two women in the top 2 were Michelle Wilkie and Tessie LeBlanc, who both finished the course.
Oh yeah, in Cincinnati, yeah, I don't get money, but yes, that's basically what that comes down to.
Yep, so that's where that comes from. After that, we have the final night of qualifying. This segment definitely ran out a little bit longer than I would like to, but the final night of qualifying, episode 5, we had no new obstacles. However, we did see the return of the Wing Chaser, which is pretty cool, honestly. I'm really glad they returned that obstacle.
Yeah, the fact that that ended up coming out, that was really cool. Oh, right! We forgot about the fucking Minion sponsorship!
Ah, shit. Okay, so on nights 4 and 5, they had a new obstacle called the Despicables. And fuck this obstacle, fuck the Minions, I'm done here, I'm leaving.
Okay, maybe not fuck the Minions, but definitely fuck the fact that they took over the course. Because, I'll be honest here, I distinctly remember dubbing episode 4 The Curse.
Yeah, you called me about that, and I'm just like, whenever we cover episode 4, I'm gonna be calling the episode The Curse, and now I can't do that.
Oh man, but that's what episode 4 is called to me, The Curse, because the entirety of the course was taken over by minions, including a screen in the back to where the minions were spying on the competitors. And then they had the nerve to design a minionized logo of American Enjoy. Just, God, what are these people's problem?
Money, obviously.
Okay, money, yes. Okay, obviously money, but yes, honestly.
Yeah, I'm gonna be completely honest. This is coming from a less spiteful place because I am someone who really hates the Minions. Like, I'm someone who thought the humor of the first movie was pretty dull and stupid. And I have no desire to see the second movie because I don't think the Minions are good leads on their own right, and I think they're just cash grabs. And especially if we're gonna make a sequel to the prequel, I think that's definitely pushing it. So having AEW promote is just stupid.
Yeah, I think we just don't need any more than that.
Yeah, sorry for anyone who's a fan of Minions or kind of mad that we decided to go for that. It's just kind of the way we wanted to go for it. Anyway, back to night 5. We had John Mack as the as one of the people who ended up getting the Mega Wall, but also the fastest time in the night at 1:49. Second place was Hunter Gerard, and Jeremiah Boyd, who also ended up getting a Mega Wall this season as well.
Yep, we had Kaden Maslin, who was the only finisher, who was one of the only 2 finishers to get cut this season, and they specifically highlighted him as one of the finishers when they got over the leaderboard.
They did?
Yes, I don't know what they specifically said his name, but they were like, we had several teenagers, and they made his name green along with all the other teenagers. And I'm just like, they didn't show him tonight. Come the frick on, people.
Yeah, if they're really gonna go that deep, then yeah, show him. God, this is, Kid and Maslin got a very similar treatment during the semis in stage 1. So, yeah, this is just disappointing to see. We also saw Eliza Browning and Kyle Solomon. Kyle Solomon was also one of the competitors that got the Mega Wall. We had Jackson Aerodos from AW Junior, who ended up being the final one of the night. And he did really well. We had Sean Bryan and Adam Whalen, who were once again grouped together. We had David Campbell make his 14th appearance in the AEW, keeping his streak alive, and getting a buzzer as well, so that was really cool to see. We saw the return of Josh Levin, which was fucking awesome. Just the fact that he got airtime, the fact that he returned is freaking awesome.
Yeah, I'm really glad we got to see Josh Levin again. I was not expecting to see him ever again because he was busy with the Olympics and everything, but it's really cool to see him again.
Yeah, the last couple of spots, of course, people fell on Final Frontier. Those included Lance Pekus, who had a surprisingly large showing and shared a segment with Elijah Browning, as apparently Elijah Browning was the first competitor to visit his course, which shocks me, but okay, that was really cool. We also had Maddie Howard get the last spot in the top 30, and we had Tiana Weberly, who just barely squeezed in. Who just barely squeezed in on the top 5. And Whitney Durant was the final woman to complete a course in the qualifiers.
Yeah, and that is where the qualifiers end up leaving it.
Yeah, I don't think any of the qualifier episodes were really good. I don't think they really did a good job at editing in terms of who to cut and who not to. Again, we bailed about it here. This is a very brief overview of it, half an hour. I wanted this to go 15 minutes, but only half an hour is what we wanted. But, yeah, that's the qualifiers. They were okay. Episode 4 was a chore to get through, but it was fine, I guess.
Yeah, all I can hope for is that the Sicker Balls do not make another return, and we can just move on and forget about that ever happened.
Funny enough, we almost did forget about it.
Yes! And I kind of wish we actually did. Even though people probably would have pointed out.
Yeah. Anyway, let's move on to the semifinals. So the semifinals, this episode we'll be going through, we'll be doing a thorough examination on like we usually do, so going every individual one like we usually do. Those 5 episodes, once again, we just didn't want to bother doing it. I feel like investigation of each individual episode because that would take a while for me to edit and stuff. So now we're going to be able to just talk about episode 6 alone. And, so let's start off with episode 6 and its obstacles, starting with, we had these shrinking steps, the lunatic ledges, which, fine, I guess.
After that, we had Air Surfer, the spinning bridge, which was notably missing a spinner, which honestly made the obstacle at least look a little bit harder.
Yeah, honestly, when they showed a spinning bridge from a previous season, yeah, you can tell it's just missing one. We have the first new obstacle, that being the Kaleidoscope, which were basically these like little stars you had to rotate, and align with the cliffhanger glyphs. And those were really cool. Like, straight up, I actually like those.
Yeah, it's like a stage 3 type obstacle, but it actually worked for the qualifiers. And plus, they didn't, like, doom the women. Some women actually got past it.
Yeah, so honestly, that was really cool to see.
Of course, I had the warp wall, and same one as per usual, but then we had the next new obstacle, which was Ghost Town. I have weird opinions about this.
Yeah, Ghost Town is an obstacle to where there's, like, 2 quote-unquote ghosts that hold the ball in place, and it's kind of like Flying Ball, in where you have to move the ball from handhold to handhold, and in that sense, it's kind of like the wedge. And, several ways, and a way competitor was falling, was, like, moving the ball out of place accidentally while trying to gain momentum. That got 2 people, and pretty notable people as well. So, yeah, that's how Ghost Town worked. It was kind of weird. The obstacles pegs had googly eyes where the ghost was supposed to be. And honestly, it just didn't feel like a Ghost Town.
No, Ghost Town would be an obstacle like, a ghost town when no one's there. An obstacle where it feels like nothing. But no, it's an obstacle. It doesn't feel like what it's supposed to represent.
Yeah, they clearly didn't get the term. Then we had Split Decision, which was honestly a really cool one. We had the returning Dragon back on season 12. Obviously, a really good obstacle. I've always liked the aesthetic of it. And then a new one, Spin Zone. Yeah, this one was actually really unique, as it was like three like triangles that spun independently of each other. You had to make big strides in order to stay on them, and only one competitor ended up completing it. Yeah, everyone else fell on it, but again, it was still a really cool balance obstacle. Once they wanted the diamond one, so the Hauser was treated by the competitors, but still really cool. And of course, it ended like with the normal spiral shot because they will never change that obstacle.
Yeah, unfortunately. But, yeah, I think, and now we can move on to the actual ones this episode.
Yeah, so let's start off with...
It's Bob Weiss, who we mentioned earlier was a parkour guy who did stuff on TikTok and YouTube, and John mentioned how annoying he was. And if he is really annoying, John, this segment really doesn't show it.
Yeah, no, we were rewatching it for the podcast. I was saying like this segment makes his videos look way more better than they actually are. Really, alright, so Bob Weiss, he was a performer straight up because after he got through the fifth obstacle, Kaleidoscope, he got to the wall and then took a banana out of his pocket and then took a page out of Donovan Matoya's book and decided to do a 360 on the wall.
Yeah, you're not fooling anyone with that.
Alright, but anyway, Bob Weiss ended up following on Ghost Town, and after that we had a fast forward segment featuring Ryan Hermstein, who ended up quote unquote hacking the system, which I'm betting was set up by the NBC producers. Good job, guys.
Yeah, probably. That's most likely. But he ended up falling on he ended up almost falling on both sliding steps as well as lunatic ledges before actually falling on Kaleidoscope and it was the same fate for Dillon Bennett.
Yep, Dillon ended up getting some genie pants from Thomas Stillings, and as of the time of making this, Thomas Stillings is not confirmed to have competed this season, which honestly I think is debatable.
I think they cut him considering what they love doing with Thomas Stillings, but it would be unfortunate if that ended up being the case.
Yeah, you guys can let us know in the comments if his page ever ends up getting changed. But yeah. Anyway, after that we had the next shown one, which was Cal Pujols, which of course a veteran from last season, and Flip's kind of like younger apprentice. And he did pretty well, and he made it all to the 8th obstacle, Ghost Town. And because he was able to move on to Vegas, he ended up getting a call from his mother.
Yeah, I do wonder what kind of call that actually is.
Yeah, it depends on the money, but yeah, after Cal Pujols, we had
Brett Sims in a fast forward segment.
Yep, so this was honestly a pretty big shocker, as I just know Brett Sims being pretty early in the episode, to the point where obviously he was definitely not going to be our first finisher because he was our fast forward. He ended up failing on the air server, meaning he did not move on to Vegas.
Yeah, and this is the first time since AEW, I believe, 9 that he did not qualify. And the first AEW 10 since he didn't complete his semifinals.
Yeah, so that was a pretty big record there. It was shocking that he ended up missing his mark on this time around. After that, we had Steve Duntley in that same fast forward segment, who was basically a living insult to all dads around the planet, basically telling them that, hey, you're old, you're in a second class, this is you. By having the narrators, Matt Akbar, saying like he's wearing the dad clothes to represent the dad, including these white dad shoes, which are just standard sneakers.
It's definitely a way of putting it, but yeah, I can definitely see your point there. The way he ended up going out was pretty funny, as he ended up falling on a spinning bridge, but he ended up falling off the landing pad, getting himself disqualified.
Yeah, that one was pretty humorous. Then we have Matt Domingo, who was a rookie who ended up being the first competitor to get past Ghost Town. However, we ended up being the first to fall on Dragonback, so now we all don't know the way to end up moving on to Vegas. Then there was one of the most shocking fails of the night, Jordan Collar.
Yeah, Jordan Cole was surprisingly early, and that really made me a bit worrisome, and I definitely was right to be, because Jordan Cole fell on the fifth obstacle and did not end up moving on.
Yeah, I know she was, I believe, 4th or 5th place in the top 3 for women, so she did not end up moving on, unfortunately. So her season ended up ending here, which is pretty sad because she showed a lot of promise.
Yeah, but I guess it's okay. Yeah, I think it was just cool to see her, obviously, but yeah, just seeing her fall there was pretty unfortunate. But anyway, then we had Jennifer Stefano in another fast forward segment. She ended up falling on Air Surfer, and then we had her boyfriend Ryan Sanders who ended up falling on Ghost Town. Then we had another couple, Joe Capel, ended up falling on the spinning bridge, and Abby Clark. Let me tell you, this is one of the stupidest fast forwards they have made. Because Abby Clark made it farther than any other woman, and was the only woman to get past Kaleidoscope. So, yeah, if that's the way you want to treat her, then fuck right the hell off.
Yeah, she was the only one to get past it. She ended up going out on the warp wall, unfortunately, but she definitely should have had her one shown at that point. Then we had the Gwen then we had Najee Richardson, the Philly Phoenix, who had a story about his grandfather who ended up sending him to a black protest during the civil rights. And Najee basically tried to relate that to him standing up to a protest. And I'm being honest here. Even though protests are supposed to also push human rights, there's a limit that they have to go. And they really don't want to paint the environment these protests really have, because like they're very chaotic and they're very dangerous from what I've heard. Like, it really seems like a bad way to make them look.
Yeah, I can fully see what you mean, considering how I guess like infamous they are. But anyway, Najee had a pretty alright one, making it all the way to Ghost Town, where he ended up being another one of those people who ended up moving the ball out of its hook, and that's where he ended up falling.
Yeah, it was actually pretty unfortunate. Najee still is going on to Vegas, so at least that's good, but still, pretty shocking right there.
Yeah, anyway, after Najee, we had Addie Herman in the fast forward segment.
Yep, Addie Herman had a pretty impressive one, getting all the way to the 5th obstacle, Kaleidoscope, and she placed in the top 3 and was able to move on to Las Vegas. That was pretty cool. Then we had Dave Kavanaugh, who really should have been shown, as he was as he went pretty far, making it all the way to the end of Dragonback, where he almost was the first to clear it, but ended up failing. Then we had Lucas Reale, who actually was shown. It's a miracle. He's never shown. But he ended up falling on the new obstacle, Spin Zone. And honestly, once again, this really does prove how hard this obstacle is. Because he fell by not having a stride be big enough. And once again, I just think the obstacle is really cool, so this kind of highlights that.
Yeah, I can definitely see what you mean, but then we had probably the most meaningful one of the night, in my opinion, like one of my favorites, Flip Rodriguez, who had a story about his abuse again, but the cool thing about it was that he actually decided to write a book about it, and that's something that's just really cool all around. The fact that he decided to actually tell it in, like, not necessarily in, like, broad detail, but, actually, like, write about it is pretty cool, and I really do like the segment they did.
Yeah, they did stuff like use old A&W footage, and it was actually collect A&W footage, which they really get right. And, yeah, the presentation of the segment was pretty cool, and I think, they really did actually give Flip some spotlight, as he ended up becoming the first finisher, and this was Flip's first buzzer since A&W 11. Yeah, so that was really cool to see. I'm really glad that Flip finally got buzzed. So even if he didn't make it to the Power Tower, man, that was just awesome to see. At the Flip, we had Alex Begoli in a fast forward segment where they decided to highlight a whole bunch of people who fell on Kaleidoscope, which included Alex Begoli, John Uga, James Hanella, and veteran Xavier Dancer. At least he was shown this time, but still stupid. Then we had Josiah Papel, who ended up getting to the buzzer and then becoming the night's second finisher and at the second fastest time of the night.
Yep, and that meant he was in the Power Tower. He got into the Power Tower. And yeah, not really anything too much notable in that one. After Josiah Pell, though, anyway, after him, though, we had Jay Flores in a fast forward segment. He ended up having a really cool save on Ilsa where we went one-handed for a couple of seconds. I really do like his instinct of, like, going, like, matching his hands on the second one. That was just, like, it felt like an instinct. It was just really cool to see. And then he just falls immediately after.
Yeah, kind of overshadowed the save a little bit there, but still cool. Then we had Sophia Valley, who had a pretty all-right run, but unfortunately fell on Ilsa, and she was not going to be able to move on to Vegas. So that was pretty unfortunate. And then we had Anthony Early, who had a story about his very diverse family and how he was adopted at 2 days old, and how he's been working to take care of one of his very young siblings who's only 2 years old. So yeah, that's what this the whole segment. And for some reason got emotional. It wouldn't feel like much. That kind of thing sounds like an insult, but we'll go for it. Yeah, I don't really have much of a take from it. That's why I phrased it like that. But maybe it is an insult, I don't know. After that, we had Matt Blatt. Oh, I forgot to mention that he fell on Dragonback.
Yeah, I was waiting for that one.
Then we had Matt Bradley, who shockingly fell on Air Surfer. Probably the second most shocking fail of the night after Jordan Carr. Then we had Kayla Mack, who ended up falling on Kaleidoscope. And then finally we had Rachel D. Guts, who had a story about her being a middle school science teacher. And she ended up falling there as well. However, she was fast enough to get into the top 3, knocking out Jordan Carr.
Yep, she was the final female runner, and then that just left us a couple more competitors.
Yep, so after her we had Juwan Cui in a fast forward segment. He ended up going out on Air Surfer. Then we had Jeremy Waters, who ended up going out on Kaleidoscope. And then we had the next big shown one, that being Jay Lachey Lewis, who had a big story about him going back and forth between colleges. And he ended up having to pick between Quinnipiac University, Fairfield University, University of Connecticut, Villanova, and Syracuse. And this would have been cool if they didn't just if the producers didn't know what he was going to pick beforehand.
Yeah, we'll get to that. Jay had a really good one, getting all the way through the course in a really fast time, that being the fastest of the night, and the first person to finish a city finals course in under 3 minutes this season. That was under 4 minutes this season. That was really cool. But at the top of the tower, they already had his college laid out. They had this little bag that had his baseball cap that was already on top as he was climbing the spider trap. And that means that the producers had to know about that for them to place it up there. Either that or he did it himself, which makes literally no sense.
Yeah, so it's a little less important when you think of it in that context, but he ended up going with Syracuse regardless, and it was still a good moment. It just kind of is ruined by the way it ended up happening by production standards. Then we had the final fast forward segment, which included James Burns, who ended up falling on Ghost Town. We had Luke Dillon, who ended up becoming the night's next finisher, and Joe Moloski as the final one of the night. I think it was pretty obvious that he was going to go to the Power Tower. Yep, which made it a huge shot when he didn't.
Yep, here on the Ninja Warrior Podcast, we make your failures a reality and disappoint all.
Really?
Yes, I do.
Alright, yeah, Joe Moloski, he did really well across the course until Dragonback, where he ended up falling, and unfortunately did not get to the Power Tower. However, he did get into the top 15, as with everyone else who got to the 9th obstacle. So he isn't moving on to Vegas, thankfully, but it's just, that's pretty surprising the fact that he was the last one of the night.
Yeah, definitely. But then we have the Power Tower, which I have some shit to say about.
Yeah, the Power Tower was certainly something. So, which is how well was Jay Lewis, but because this is a new season, obviously we have to talk about a new Power Tower. And goddamn, was this a new Power Tower? Because this Power Tower started off with this push block. They need to push up a stage, then you have to go back and forth down a pipe maze, and then go up the stairs, which just feels like needs this padding.
Yeah! And then after that first part, they go a bit zigzaggy on the tower, going across, going across two ropes. It's going across two ropes that lead to two cliffhangers that you had to climb. And then there you had to get onto two kind of like fire poles and climb up those. And after that, we had the standard dropping shelves from the last couple of seasons. I think the Power Tower was kind of pushing it in terms of what's on there, but it's at least difficult, and that's kind of why I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I think AW13 is still the perfect balance for the Power Tower, but this one is actually pretty okay. Again, that first part, like you said earlier, it's Willie is padding you. Adding it really just felt like something to pad out the Power Tower so it would be longer. Even though they could have just had them just climb up the normal stairs like usual. It also feels like an excuse for it not to be as tall as per usual, because it's usually a pretty tall, high standard in order to get up there. But, you know, because we're going up less stairs, it's possible that maybe they, made the Power Tower shorter in scale than usual. I don't know for sure. Not sure how you can really tell that either, but it's just a statistic that I realized. But then we have, of course, Josiah Powell and Jay Lewis. Oh, it's the two people who ended up making it to the Power Tower this episode. And this was a close race. Yeah, this race ended up turning out to be a very big neck and neck one, as the two of them were really close to each other, once again neck and neck, until the final dismount, to where Jay Lewis just barely got to the buzzer just before Josiah, and he ended up getting that safety pass. So congrats to Jay.
Yeah, that means that he's not gonna fail in the double dippo again.
Yeah, hopefully not. But yeah, definitely a really good one, and it was really cool to see him as well, to see him get the safety pass. It kind of sucks that he never really got the chance to get revenge on Joe Morosky, but obviously it's still pretty cool. And, yeah, that just leaves the cut ones, which are some pretty shocking, because for the first time in a very long time, they only cut a grand total of 3 people. 3!
Yeah, that is a rarity. I don't remember the last time they only cut 3 people.
Yeah, every single veteran and every single person they needed to show, fast forward or not, was shown. Oh, the only people who were cut entirely were Blenson McWilliams, who ended up going on the Spin Bridge, Stuart Mather, who ended up going out on Kaleidoscope, and Tyler Burhill, if I am saying that right, who ended up going out on Air Surfer. And, yeah, that's it. Honestly, really good episode in terms of the course, was the competitors, and of course, the editing. It was horrible as per usual, but the difference is that they showed everyone they needed to show. They showed everyone in the top 15, they showcased a whole bunch of veterans that needed to be shown. And despite my our gripes with the way they added like women in there, how they should have shown people like Abby Clark and Karen Mack, who ended up falling on the 5th and 6th officers, especially Abby Clark, who ended up placing as the top women tonight. But, you know, I guess it was okay. It's the best episode of the season, in my opinion. And honestly, it was still really cool. But that is going to be it for this episode of the Ninja Warrior Podcast.
Yep, we will see you guys next time as we cover the second episode of the semifinals.
Yep, this is officially our second longest episode at 50 minutes. But goddamn.
I mean, we covered the qualifiers too tonight, so I'm shocked that we didn't hit an hour, honestly.
Well, we're gonna stall for 7 minutes.
No, we don't need to do that! Okay, it's not a situation where we need to stall and make a 15-minute quota. No, we are actually way higher than David's probably willing to edit for.
Yeah, true, but I'll make it through. But thanks for watching, everyone. Once again, next time we are covering the second part of the semis. And, yeah, we will see you guys there. Peace.